Hello, this is a prepaid collect call from...
Hi there, you've reached AJ, aka The Stone, from the Dads on Dayquill podcast.
An inmate at Florida Correctional Institution.
I'm not here right now because I'm currently listening to the Bleach Bros Podcast, which I'm actually going to direct you to right now by pressing 8. Shit, that was 7. Come and get cleansed.
Welcome into the Bleach Brothers Podcast. This is Jake the Hater with my great friend B-Word. See how I say great friend? New adjectives. I'm learning words.
Okay, words. Words are hard. I like it.
I fuck words, dude, as we all know. Fuck words. Yeah. I can't. I've given up on auto spell on my phone. Like the autocorrect function.
I'm ducking proud of you for that, by the way.
The other thing, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but I don't spell exactly correctly, right? And my phone has given up on me where, here's the thing, I actually think it's correct because it's in the autocorrect function, but I've realized that's a function just for like morons like me where it's just like, fuck this guy, this is what he spells. Yep. So I click it and then all of a sudden I'll see it like the red line. I'm like, well, no. And then I'm like, oh, fuck me. Yeah. And then it says duck me. And then, then my whole day goes downhill where I just give up spelling it that way. Because you'll notice that me and you will talk. And I'm sure when people talk to me, they think it's like I'm getting drunker and drunker. I'm not. I'm just sober. But it's the fact that it's like, if I start spelling one word wrong, then I just give up the rest of the way. And it's just a fucking amalgamation of a mess.
Well, I used to date this girl who would spell just, J-S-U-T.
Yeah.
And like her phone just adapted to her just, and her social media posts with just would say J-S-U-T. And like I'd just sit there and go, it's J-U-S-T. Like just spell it correctly. Like how do you fuck that up? But she was really good at like, certain things, so I didn't really pay attention to it all that much.
That brings up a good point. I'm just thinking about B-Word. So they keep saying AI is going to ruin society, right? But if there's morons like me running around making AI adapt to my retardation, it's not going to rule the world because it's not going to be able to spell just or ducking or whatever. I like this. Like, I'm going to save the planet. I'm like an anti-Terminator. Like, what's her name?
Point.
What's the lady's name?
Sarah Connors.
Boobies. Sarah Connors. Sarah Connors nips. I like those.
Yeah, those are good nips.
Introduce me to. No, I'm like a Sarah Connors of an iPhone. Like, I am here to help AI not get smarter.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a good way to put it.
Well, speaking of AI not getting smarter, I have to tell you this moment at the Super Bowl. So I'm at a Super Bowl party. And I'm with a whole bunch of people, and it's loud. You know how Super Bowl parties are. Like you have some where they focus on the game, and then you have some that don't care about anything else to even to include the commercials.
Right.
And I was at the latter part of them. So the one commercial that caught my attention, there was this girl there who had her son who was, I think he's 2 years old or something.
A little
like
crotch
that.
goblin.
Yeah. And he's playing around, he's screaming, he's having a good time, and everybody else is cool with it. And all of a sudden that Tubi commercial comes on. Mm-hmm. And it switches, like you go from the Fox broadcast and then you go to the main menu and you go to Tubi, and all of a sudden they pick the shittiest movie that you can, Mr. and Mrs.
They didn't
Smith.
pick Draft Day. They didn't pick Draft Day.
That's true. But I'm sitting there and I'm like, somebody get the remote out of that kid's hand. And little did I know, dude, that was an actual Tubi commercial. So I was pretty cool with that. But yeah, man, this year's Super Bowl was weird, man. Like I love the outcome. I love the score. But I wasn't really a big fan of halftime or the commercials.
No, I wasn't a big fan of halftime. I understand what it is, but my problem was Rihanna looked just as bored as I think people were. I like her music. I'm a fan of Rihanna. I'm not one of those people who's like, fuck her. And I like her music. I think it's great. It just felt very underwhelming and weird.
I want to shout out our patron Carlos, because in our Discord we have the scoreboard room that was getting a whole lot of traction.
It was on fire.
That night. Yeah, it was a lot of traction. Well, our patron Carlos commented in there. He's like, "Why did she grab her crotch and sniff it?" And I'm like, "That's because I think my theory is that she was doing a gender reveal and they put a flavor of Jolly Rancher up her." And she's like, "Oh, that's that's blue raspberry or whatever. Oh, that's pink lemonade." And I'm like, that's where I took it. But dude, that Discord channel was off the hook that day.
Yeah, if you're not a member of our Patreon, be sure to check it out. A lot of cool extra crap. The highest tier gets some merch. But it was fun. There's Discord channels that are free too. So if you just want to join our Discord chat, do it. There are ones that are Patreon exclusive. But I'll say this, B-word. It was enjoyable to see how many of us degenerates were all in there together. And I mean that mainly because it started out with just the game and then all our bets and stuff. So then the Super Bowl halftime show sucks. I also want to shout out Carlos, because he got kicked out of another Discord for saying that Rihanna sucked. And then we said, you're welcome to party here, bro. And we went off for a while about that Five Heads show. But the commercials I've given up on, dude.
Yeah.
I have given up on Super Bowl commercials. There's a few reasons. One, it was just me with the kids alone for most of the day. So it was just trying to chase after a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old who wanted to be outside and play and not just sit and watch a game.
Right.
But two, I don't know. I think they've gotten stale. And I think they do two things. One, when something's like a joke and it's not funny anymore, like they're like, it's like Fox did that one about that new host Gutfeld or whatever, right? Or like,
oh, I didn't see it.
They did this commercial where essentially it was like, that's all the time we have because these are expensive. I'm sick of those type of commercials that explain how expensive it is to have a Super Bowl ad. So they're like, they are expensive, so we'll just do 20 seconds. I'm sick of QR codes. I'm not going to stand up and scan anything.
I agree.
And I'm sick of like overly gratuitously adding movie stars and shit to try to make it seem better than what it is.
I would say that there's a staple at the Super Bowl. You've got the E-Trade commercials with the babies. I think that that's one of the most creative ones. The problem is you expect it now. Like it's redundant. It's not, I don't think it's written the same. I don't think it's as enjoyable as when it first came out. You've got the Doritos commercials that are always going to be on there. And then you got movie trailers. Like I'm there for the movie trailers. Like give me all the movie trailers. Like I'm all about that life. But yeah, the commercials this year, you had the Jesus commercials that were really fucking weird. I shouldn't say Jesus and fucking in the same sentence again like that, but they just were odd. They weren't like terrible, but like it was just a message. They weren't trying to sell anything, which was kind of cool. But man, the commercials just sucked.
Well, there's a few problems with it. One, the movie trailers, they don't even play the trailer anymore. They play a snippet and go online. So it's like, all right, fuck you, I gotta go somewhere else. I liked it when they used to release them in halftime, like after the show. Like that's the point.
Yeah,
I agree with you with the expectation because it's like I expect brands more than anything else at the Super Bowl. So I expect Budweiser. I expect some type of insurance company. I expect some monetary value, and I mean like E-Trade or something like that, some fiscally responsible, Fortune 500 company to have one. I expect a break out of the box one that I wouldn't, see before.
Like the Tubi.
And then I expect like Mountain Dew or somebody to be fucking weird, and then Doritos to do this whole campaign behind it.
Right.
The biggest problems with it now, besides some of the points we made, is also they already ruin them online. Like they already told me
they released them beforehand.
Yeah, well, Breaking Bad was going to have one. They're like, there's a commercial coming out with the Breaking Bad guys getting back together. It's like I would rather just be surprised by it.
Yeah,
be like, holy shit, they're back. You know what I mean? And then just find out it's essentially all the scenes from the show with the popcorners, whatever it's called.
Yeah,
in
the
their
pop Doritos.
But
yeah.
I don't know. I'm over them. I think especially with streaming, we've gotten so used to get away from commercials. Like my kids are spoiled. Like they always think just hit a next episode or do this or pause it or rewind or do that. It's just too expensive. And I don't think companies invest in it properly.
I'd agree with you, man. And, I think it's obviously about the Super Bowl, right? You think about the Super Bowl, you think about the games, you think about the players, the matchups, the coaching, all of that sort of stuff that goes into it. I loved the outcome of the game. I thought that the game was great. It was entertaining. There wasn't one side that dominated the entire game, which I truly appreciated. But recently in our Patreon, we actually released our Hippo Happy Hour. And in our Hippo Happy Hour, which is, by the way, one of the shows that you get with our Patreon subscription, we had a little bit of a conversation regarding LeBron James and his acquisition of the scoring title in the NBA, which he's got. Like there's no dispute. He is the NBA's leading scorer, and congratulations to him. But you and I had a little bit of a debate in regard to should there be an asterisk there, or should it be recognized as not the same as when Kareem got it, right? And so your take was in essence that LeBron got it. Doesn't matter how he got it. He got it. He's earned it. It's his. There shouldn't be an asterisk. There shouldn't be any question, right? My thought process was, well, Kareem did it in less years, and Kareem did it without having, the ability to take care of himself in the same manner. Since we've had that conversation, though, I did go back and I looked up a couple things. So number one, Kareem played 14 years as a pro. Okay.
Right.
Or I think it was 14 years as a pro, 16 years as a pro, something like that. And then he played 4 years of college. So he didn't have the opportunity to play in the NBA as long as LeBron did, per se, because LeBron didn't go to college. So let me ask you this, man. Should sports leagues make college a requirement? Specifically, I mean, we're talking about NBA. You look at, there's a lot of players that used to come out NBA that were just straight out of high school, right? Kobe, LeBron, a couple others. I think with the NFL, we're probably looking at, you need to bulk up a little bit. I don't think a high school player can go and take on, an NFL style lineman or defensive lineman, right? But are there certain teams or leagues that should at least require going to college first? Why or why not?
See, that's a hard thing because you look at like Bryce Harper, right? Where he dropped out of high school, but went and got his GED, but then still, and the reason he did is because you still have to have that one season under your belt from some type of college. So he went to CCSN at the time, which is College of Southern Nevada. Sorry. It was community college back in the day, just so he can make pro, even though he was hitting further home runs than anybody. I mean, he has the longest home run in the history of Mariner Stadium. I hate gray area rules like this. And what I mean by that B word is the fact that LeBron's a once in a lifetime player. Kobe's a once in a lifetime player, right? And how do you equate like going, this kid's so good he could play out of high school? And that's true. And that's freedom. And that's America. Bald Eagle Freedom Party, motherfuckers, right? Like, let this happen. But then how also do you say make a rule that's fair for everybody, right? Like in the sense like, and what I mean by that is you can't go back and say LeBron has to go to, or anybody can go out of high school, or you can't have, I guess what I'm trying to say is you can't make a rule, right? Saying everybody has to go to college unless you're a LeBron, because how do you equate that, right? So that's a gray area. I agree you should go to college, and I'm more for the reasoning of this. And maybe it's because I'm a parent and the responsible thing, but I agree with like the bulking up thing. Because I was somebody that started college a little earlier, younger, and I was small at the time. You remember that. I didn't really bulk up until I was about 20. And so for somebody like me, if I had a chance in college, I probably would have, could have made it further in sports, because like if I was somebody being looked at like 15, 16, I was a great player, but I wasn't the size I could be, and I didn't develop those ways because some people develop earlier. That's the rule. You can't teach height.
Right.
I agree you should go to college. The problem I have with it, though, is that the stupid rules like baseball does. You have to have one season. Basketball, you have to have 2 years. Or is it 1 year? I don't know. It's one.
I think basketball, you have to have at least one, if I remember correctly.
Right. Which I hate, because now it's ruined March Madness, right?
Right.
But it's like that goes back to, though, they want players to maximize their ability to play as long as they can, because the league gets so short-lived, right?
Well, and you also have foreign players, like Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic didn't go to college. He went and played in the Spanish basketball league. You've got, you've got a whole bunch of players that really haven't touched the collegiate, side of things yet. I mean, as an example, Jake, I'm just going off the list here. I mean, we know about Kobe and LeBron, right? But there was Moses Malone, Kevin Garnett, Dwight Howard, Tracy McGrady, Sean Kemp, Amari Stoudemire, Jermaine O'Neal, etc., that did not go to college. So when you're talking about, and that's just in the NBA, when you're talking about,
and that's also just the great
sports,
players, not trying to interrupt you.
Correct. Yeah. No,
there's other ones that probably aren't.
You're 100% right. And so when you're talking about this, I mean, how do you discriminate for allowing certain people to come into the league and not allowing others? And I would say that when you're talking about a draft, right, doesn't matter what the sport is. I think it's a meritocracy. You have to have your measurables. You have to show your talent. You have to do all of these things in whatever camp that you're going to, or whatever combine that you're going to, right? And so I do think that starts to weed things out. So when you're talking about growth and bulking up and whatever, I mean, there's that. But parents are crazy nowadays, dude. They don't let their kids, like if somebody thinks that their kid's going to become this basketball, phenom, they have them in basketball camps. They have them in basketball off-season training. They have all of this sort of stuff that just consumes their life for how many years. Whereas you and I, we could have been great in a sport, or really good in a sport, or even just fair in a sport, and we would have been looking forward to the next sport when we were done. right? So there is a sign of the times. But when you're talking about that, who's to say that their phenom of a kid isn't going to get held back for a year or two to have that bulking up? You know what I mean? Because if that's what it's about, then they want to be able to do that. I think it's a weird rule, and I just wanted to bring it up for discussion.
Well, and I know I did a roundabout. I didn't even actually give an answer, and the problem is I can't say yes or no to this, and it sucks because you know me. Usually, I have a finite, like black and white. Here's how I look at it. Because I have a feeling, one, the old man get off my lawn moment is I hate that they're paying college players now, right?
Oh, I do too. Yeah.
And it's changed the game. I understand the realities behind it, and there are things I can be like, yeah, I don't mind them being paid and do this and that, livable wages, all that bullshit. But all these rules change the game, and some of the rules are really stupid, as I brought up, but also like, how do you stop somebody from going pro, but also how do you stop themselves from going pro too early? Like, and that's my problem, is just how do you allow that freedom, but also make it worthwhile for everybody?
The problem is that we knew that there were colleges or recruiting teams or whatever that were paying the athletes, right? You look at like Deion Sanders back in the day. Deion Sanders was taking money. I mean, you mean to tell me he wasn't taking money buying BMWs and chains and all this sort of shit, right? So you know that these players are getting, especially the dominant ones, right? They're getting pretty decent money from boosters or alumni or whatever else, right? To be able to come and perform on this collegiate team, which then translates into professional sports. The problem is that we've made it okay. Rather than acknowledging and trying to fix the issue, we've made it okay for now everybody to go out and get paid. And the other part of that is that you're looking at things like, for gamers, for people who like sports games, you look at like EA Sports or any of these things that, you have college basketball or college football or some of these things. You can use the likeness of these players. You have to pay for that. Okay, fine. I'm totally fine with that. The problem is that there really hasn't been any video games that have come out to be able to line the pockets of some of these athletes. And so you also have the adverse effect now of games are either delayed or not released because either they don't want to pay, or there's contract disputes, or there's anything else. So I do think that that's kind of made it a little bit more of an issue. What do you think?
I agree. I don't know. It's a slippery slope, especially because college is so vast. It's not like you just have 17 teams, even though there's a lot of people in it. And, the likelihood is just, you've also opened up the problem like what Tennessee did last year, right? They offered that kid, I don't know how much, but so fucking much right out the gate, where it's like, okay, you just ruined it for everybody. I understand you really wanted that guy, but it's like going to an auction and they're like, the starting bid's 100,000 and you bid 3 million. Like what are you doing?
Exactly.
I mean, I would love to get into this deep, but it's one of those things I can't answer vividly or directly. And so it's hard to talk about because I see both sides. I can be on both sides, but you brought up asterisks, you brought up requirements, you brought up rules. There's a big topic that a lot of people talk about with sports in general. And that's, should they be allowed to use steroids, for one? And two, should people that use steroids be allowed into the Hall of Fame?
See, this is probably the one that I don't know that I can give you an answer on, because I when we were growing up, there was the battle of the bats, right? You had Mark McGwire, who's hitting home runs, and you had Barry Bonds, who's hitting home runs.
Sammy Sosa,
who's hitting home runs. My bad. And the thing about that is that both of them were juiced. Both of them were juiced 100%.
Well, yeah, and Sammy was corking bats too.
Oh yeah, and so when you're looking at this, like, how do you sit there and have them have the home run record? And then not be able to look away from it, I guess. And so for that, I do think that there are reasons and ways to do asterisks for that. I guess it depends on the sport, because I know that for a long time, professional wrestling has not been looked at as a sport, right? And so how many professional wrestlers have actually juiced themselves up, right? They've got the shriveled nuts and the anger issues, right? You've got the Chris Benoit's of the world who just go out and slaughter his family because he's all juiced up. On a certain level for that sport, I don't care if they're all juiced up, candidly. So if they go into their own Hall of Fame, I don't give three shits. I would say that if you're allowing steroids into a sport for one reason or another, then you allow it for everybody, and you allow the use of it, and then you allow the Hall of Fame
it's
of it.
Free will, like you can or you can't. Like
like if you're talking about a combat sport, for instance,
Mhm.
like we're there to see gladiators mess the fuck up. Like the newest thing that I've been watching is a slap contest. Like I'm actually waiting for you to try to bet on it. Because I think
I'm waiting until they release it, I can bet on it.
But like these slap contests are fun to watch. If somebody's juiced up on that, like I don't care. Like juice it up, man. Like I hope you don't kill somebody. But that's where I look at that. But back to organized sports like baseball and football and stuff, I do kind of have an issue with that as far as like, you know, Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire, are they in the Hall of Fame? Should they be in the Hall of Fame? Should their Hall of Fame have an asterisk on it? I don't know that I can answer that question.
See, I'm in the same boat as you because it's like I when you say wrestling, I also think of bodybuilding, right? Like Mr. Universe, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like it's technically a sport.
Yep.
There's judging, and you're giving yourself an advantage, right? Because you're going to bulk up bigger, you're going to recover faster, you can work out more, all the things that come with it, right? There's also all the cons that come with it. I'll say this is, I would love to see sports where people are at the epitome of the peak of the human ability in both capacities. Undoped and unused, and then people that do. Like it is great. Like Tosh.0 and a lot of people have done those jokes. Like I want to see fucking monsters hit balls over the fence all day.
Yeah.
However, since it's not a level playing field, it's hard. Some people can't afford it. Some people can't handle it. Some people can do that. I mean, I always talk like I wish I would have taken it when I was offered it in high school, because I don't know if I would have threw my arm out, and I probably would have bulked up. I could have done that. And what could I have been, right?
Right.
I also get in that argument, though, if we're going to go to like the Hall of Fame thing, like one, baseball never made it a rule.
Yep.
Like that's the loophole, right? It was never technically a rule until I think 1996. I could be wrong, or maybe it's like 2000.
It was pretty recent,
It wasn't really written. It was just one of those, well, they never said we couldn't. One of those things, like, when you get away with it through that. But people go like, well, then we should have a steroid era of records. But then the problem with that is not everybody was on steroids in that era.
Right.
Also, people have said, well, let's just have a steroid league. Okay, we have the XFL. It fucking sucks. I don't need a steroid league of baseball. Like, okay, let's get these guys over here, get them all hopped up and jacked and crazy, and then these guys over here are playing the regular game. It's hard to say, man. It's one of those things, like there is, like, I agree with you when you're seeing MMA fighters. It's like, I want to see that. The biggest problem I have, it's like that whole trust thing, right? Like, do I believe that Russia's ever clean in the Olympics? No.
Right.
Even though they could
exactly.
be, they have the stigma where I'm like, fuck this. I don't like it when they win. Fuck Russia. But it's also the fact because, they're probably doping the whole damn time.
Right.
I don't like unfair advantages. And since it is cheating, it sucks. I don't think asterisks should be put there, but then I'm also like, do I keep them out? I think people are kept out for a lot of things. This is one of those. I think eventually they're all going to be put in. I think people that are so mad about it and dying off will like eventually just get over it, and they'll be like, whatever, he hit the home run record. He did hit the most. It's hard to say. I think what's happening is, though, like baseball is a perfect example where we're talking about home runs, right? I think people are waiting for a clean guy just to do it so they can say, we don't need to even argue this anymore. Because this guy finally has the record. Like, Ohtani would, if he gets it or Bryce Harper gets it, it's like, oh, good. Now we have this guy who's been clean his whole life. But the problem is, the minute he does it, what do you think is going to happen?
Oh, yeah.
Has he been juiced the whole time?
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. Well, when we come back, man, I want to talk about Pete Rose and the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. Bleach Bros Podcast is proud to align itself with Jerky Pro, a beef jerky manufacturer established by military and paramilitary veterans.
Available in 3-ounce or 1-pound bags with great flavors such as honey glazed, teriyaki, red hot, apple cinnamon, original, peppered, sweet barbecue, and if you're ballsy enough, nuclear.
Be sure to use our promo code to get some of the best jerky on the market. Use Bleach Bros 5, all lowercase, to take advantage of this offer today. Welcome back. So, Jake, before we took our break, the one thing that I hinted on is that I wanted to talk with you about Pete Rose. Pete Rose has been banned from Major League Baseball from doing anything but commentary ever since he bet on his team to win, right? I think in today's standards, we kind of look at that and go, okay, that's pretty petty, right? But arguably one of the best baseball players of all time. My question to you is this: before we went on break, you were talking about, Hall of Fame voters and or just, in steroids and whatever, and they're dying off and people are getting different views. At what point, if ever, does Pete Rose make the Hall of Fame?
I don't think he ever will until these commissioners are all gone and the same type of people die off. I think he should be in there. I think baseball is worried though, just like whenever they do any rule change or anything, that league, and I love baseball and I'm not trying to shit on that way, but they're the slowest league to make rule changes. Mm-hmm. They're the slowest leagues to make changes because they're the epitome of, I don't know, like that 50s diner down the road that probably shouldn't still be in a silver hut and doing the nickel things and all the stuff that they did in the 50s that was great. Yeah, people aren't doing that anymore.
Right.
Like baseball is not America's favorite pastime anymore. It's just not. It's not. It's a great game. Like, do you need games at 1 p.m. and 164 of them a year? Probably fucking not.
Right.
So I don't think he will until those people with that mindset are gone. And it sucks because I mean it's a petty thing, but here's the problem: it was a rule. The thing that he's not in for was an established rule, and it's one of those things that it's like you tainted the game, like you should never do that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that he should be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I find it funny that he lives in Vegas now, and you know, a degenerate like me, I get it, but I believe he should be in the Hall of Fame for his efforts on the field, though,
right?
Because when he was, you know, I don't know, I'm in that camp, but I can see the side of people. This is a hard episode, viewer, because I can't answer any of these like with just saying fuck yes, like here it is,
right?
I can see that side, like because I mean, how would I feel if, you know, I knew somebody was like betting on, I don't know. It's just, I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. Yes. But I don't see him getting in anytime soon. And I think it'll be like sort of what I say about like rappers or anything. You sell more albums after you're dead. I think baseball's also waiting for that, which is shitty, to be honest, is like, it'll probably be that moment like, oh, Pete Rose has died 3 years later. You know, we finally decided it was a good idea.
Well, and that sucks too, because one of the things that just happened recently, you know, for me as a spectator, I've said this on the show many, many times. I'm a huge fan of the Dallas Cowboys. We've talked about on previous episodes that there's one player who actually won MVP for the Super Bowl on a losing team in NFL history. And that person is Chuck Howley. Chuck Howley was a defensive back for the Dallas Cowboys. He just got in as a senior member of the Hall of Fame. So the NFL has now added that senior category within the last handful of years to be able to, in my opinion, to be able to try to right wrongs of people who weren't in the Hall of Fame, right? And so I guess my argument here is that if you have somebody that was good enough to be in the Hall of Fame now, that means that they were good enough to be in the Hall of Fame 5 years ago. That means they were good enough to be in the Hall of Fame 10 years ago. Why are Hall of Fames waiting 40 years, 30 years, 20 years to put people in the Hall of Fame? Like, I just think it's a disservice because for Chuck Howley specifically, the reason why I bring this up, Chuck Howley has Alzheimer's. Roger Staubach, for his award, knocked on his door with some old teammates and told him that he's going into the Hall of Fame. I don't think Chuck Howley knows he's going into the Hall of Fame. Like, he smiled. Yeah. But he's not all there. Yeah. He's not going to go up and make a speech, right? He's not going to have the Madden moment, right? So my question to you is this. When it comes to the Hall of Fame, at what point is it too long or too late to put somebody into the Hall of Fame? Any Hall of Fame?
I don't know, because if you're going to look at like the human side, I don't think it's like how you're saying it. I feel bad for him that he's getting put in after he gets dementia. But then again, I'm also like, they can't control that. Like for me, when I brought up the Pete Rose thing after he died, I feel like that's more of a spite thing that baseball would do. Not that, you know, but I agree with you. I also hate that they have the senior class, because it's like, I think that you should be able to have voting on it for a while after a while, and they do get new people in there. The hard thing with that though is like, I'm sort of on the side of have an expiration date. Like, you have 5 years after you retire, and if you didn't get voted in, then nobody ever saw it. So you must not have been that good. Not like as you said, 30 years later, like, you know, that guy actually wasn't that fucking bad.
Right.
Like, let's put him in, or let's do it because of this, or he's a senior now, so now we can vote in 72-year-olds. Like, what the fuck is happening? Like, you're either good or you're not, and everybody knows it. Like, there are names that we yell out. Like, he was the only player in history to get the MVP for a losing team. If that doesn't tell me you're not that good, then what does? When I say Junior Seau, you know that he was fucking good and who he played for. When you say Marino, you know he was fucking good and who he played for. If you're bringing in these guys where it's like, I hate when you see these off-brand, like, this was the first guy who ever wore only 1-inch cleats and he was doing it better than everybody as a kicker, and let's commend him now, like 42 years later when nobody got to fucking see him play and the writer's sitting there watching old 50s film going, this guy deserves to be in there. How come nobody in his generation did?
Well, and I agree with that, dude. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think that the requirement just generically, doesn't matter the sport, for if you should be in the Hall of Fame or not, is can you tell the story of the league without mentioning their name, and does it alter it? Like, as an example, if you're talking about the NBA, can you talk about the NBA and not mention Michael Jordan? Can you talk about the NBA and not mention Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? And I think if you're telling the story of the league and you're saying, we're going to tell this story, but we're going to omit somebody, or we're not, or, the story is pivotal with that person in it, then that's the type of person that needs to be in the Hall of Fame. I agree with you, just because this is the first person to wear 1-inch cleats, or, this is the first person to kick a football with their pussy. Like, I don't care. Like, none of that matters to me. But can you tell the story of the league, whatever league it might be, without that individual? And if the answer is no, then they need to be in the Hall of Fame. That's my perception.
Well, mine too, because it's essentially it's a class of the greatest ever, right? So it's a very elite, it's supposed to be a very elite club. And I think we've gotten to the point where the Hall of Fame doesn't feel like that, like anything with awards, right?
Right.
There's too many, you're giving them out. Like, you look at it going, well, like one that always made me mad was Art Monk, like one of the greatest receivers for the Redskins ever. And it took years for him to get in here. Like, why is it taking so long to vote this guy in? And it's like, do people have a vendetta? Like, the only ones I think that they should give a timeline to keep voting on them, and I know this sounds weird, but like Barry Bonds, for example, right? If we're going to go back to the steroid thing, I think you can have like and I'm not trying to say he has a longer period. I just think you vote because you know that he belongs in there with his stats. I'm not going to deny that. But you're going, it's almost like a trial basis going, yeah, but how did he get him? And let's like evaluate that. However, if you played the game and you did it like Bruce Smith, just straight up clean, one of the best ever, you have a 5 to 10 year period. If you don't get voted in, you're not in. Because if people could not see it right then, there's a reason. And I'm not saying you just get a one shot, because I'll interrupt you before you do that, because if you did a one shot, there it could be that asshole writer that's vindictive, like the Dallas writer. It's like, fuck Art Monk because he's a Redskin, right?
Well, and see, that's what I was going to talk about. Yeah, is that I do think that when you're talking about sports writers, the people who vote on these things typically, who the board members or whatever that might be, right? Whatever position that they're in, you can look at, okay, well, we're going to limit the amount of people from this team that go in any one year, or we're going to, depend on our own rivalries because I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan and I don't like the 49ers, as an example, right? And so because he's a 49er, I'm not going to vote for him. I do think that there has to be that unbiased nature when it does come to Hall of Fame voting, because it's not, unlike the WWE that basically votes everybody in, I think when it comes to some of these other sports, you have to have it clean and you have to have it ethical.
I agree. And so you brought up one that I wanted to bring up is the WWE. The reason I want to bring it up, yes, they vote everybody in, and it's all the big names, right? Because they're all big names, right? You're only going to put stars on TV. Like, that's the hard thing with the WWE Hall of Fame. It's like essentially everybody makes it. Like Doink's in it, even though I love Doink. But you know what I mean? Like, well, he was in it forever, and he did, all these great fucking stories. But I mean, is he bigger than Hulk Hogan? Fuck no. But the one thing about the WWE, and I could be wrong, but I believe that they do their own voting within the community, and whether that's the wrestlers vote for each other or the people behind the scenes. Like, I would rather it be closed off to people in the NFL, and whether that's just owners, commissioners, or whatever, get to vote on these guys, and they go for the next, because the people that are in the league now. So like, let's say Tom Brady just retired, right? You have everybody that is alive, and like, you have a class of people that played against him to vote, because those are going to be the best judges going, yep, that guy fucking deserves it. And the only other people I would open it up to are the people that are already in the Hall of Fame class.
I will say you see a perfect example of this when you look at the NFL top 100. That's voted on by the players, right? So the players sit there and say, okay, this person, this person, this person. But then you look at like the Professional Writers Association of the NFL, and they do the All Pro voting in the NFL. And so you look at the All Pro, and then you look at like the Pro Bowl as an example. The Pro Bowl is voted on by Twitter users and, that sort of stuff, coaches. I do think that there's a reason why these are segregated off, because I do think if you're looking at All Pro lists, like you take the All Pro of this year, you're looking at probably the best in their positions. If you're taking the Pro Bowl, you're looking at a popularity contest, right? And the same thing if you're looking at the NFL top 100, you're taking a popularity contest. I think, at least for the NFL, you should take GMs, scouts, and coaches, and those guys should get together and vote on these players together for these different types of awards, because I do think that you're going to take a non-biased approach potentially by saying, hey, look, as a scout, you're seeing this, you're seeing what's on the tape, you're studying the tape, you're having J-Rob come in and you're having all of this sort of stuff take place, and he can point out the strengths or the weaknesses here. And then you have general managers say, yeah, this is why we drafted him, or this is why we were looking at him, this is why they were this high on our board, or hey, here's why we missed him entirely, right? And I do think that there's a little bit more of a bias there that you can add to that. I just think that in sports in general, with the way that these Hall of Fame votings go, I do think that all sports, all leagues can improve on this process.
I do too, because I mean, then you have that fear of like, does it turn into almost like what the Pro Bowl is? And let's get into that in a second, but like how now it's just a mark on the box to get your paycheck higher. It's not even really fucking like I hated, and I mean, I hate the Pro Bowl now even more so, but like, I think my hatred really started to brew for it about 7-8 years ago when I'd see people not play in it. Right. But I'd also see he has 17 Pro Bowl selections. Like who fucking cares?
Yep.
Like how many sacks does he have? How many MVPs does he have? How many rings does he have? I don't care that he got voted to go play a game in Hawaii with a bunch of his buddies and it's a bunch of nobody's really fucking trying. Like they used to fucking knock the shit out of each other and actually play a fucking game. But now they don't.
Sean Taylor used to knock people on their fucking ass.
It was the fucking best,
it was
dude.
The greatest, dude.
So should they get rid of all-star games and those types of things and like the way the contracts are written around them?
See, and what's really funny is that you look at the different all-star or all-pro or Pro Bowls or whatever else that you're looking at. The one that I probably despise the most is the NFL. And this was before they turned it into flag football. I was very disappointed to see that it was flag football. I would have much rather seen a skills contest. Like, show me how strong you are as a lineman. Show me how fast you are as a wide receiver or running back. Like almost not turn it into a combine, but like a legitimate skills contest with
like the
with
punt,
some fun
pass,
around
and
it.
kick contest they used to have.
Yeah, I like that. But I don't like what it's become. And I didn't really like it when it was the Pro Bowl, because you had these teams that like there was no competition. It's like, okay, are we going to get $200,000 or are we going to get $400,000? The reality is that everybody's walking away with money, right? And it just became something that I just didn't like. It took the competition out of it. And looking at the NBA has turned into, I'm going to take that player and this player. It's open picking. It's no longer East versus West, right?
No.
It's
like the WWE draft of Raw versus SmackDown.
Exactly. And I fucking hate that. And it's become more about performance and everything else. I think the only league, and you're more of a hockey guy than I am, but the only league that really does this with some form of consistency is the MLB.
Yes and no. So I agree with that. I'll say this: I think every league is going to the fact of just like skills. Like NHL does a great skills competition. Don't get me wrong. Like it was really fun this year too. They had people at Pebble Beach. They had people doing different, just fun games and whatever. And it's fun to see those contests. Because I do agree you don't want your players to get hurt and stuff, but I don't know. I'm of the mindset if you were that good and you don't get hurt, like you just play. Like you love to fucking play. Basketball I think was the only sport that can get away with doing an all-star game, even though those players get hurt. But I don't know. It just seemed like the easiest one to me, and baseball, those two, like that you can pull this off. Baseball sort of turned into a joke where the jerseys are talked about more because they're so fucking atrocious every year.
Yep.
But like here's the funny thing though, growing up too. The only game that we really liked to watch, I think that's why we have so much hatred, is I loved watching the Pro Bowl as a kid because they actually played right. And the NBA and baseball and hockey, always I was more about like the home run derby and the dunk contest and all that, not the actual like all-star game. I was all about, hey, let's see a dunk contest. Let's see the 3-point contest.
Yeah.
Baseball. Let's see the home run derby. Let's see this, that. You'd watch them. Like you'd watch the, MLB National League versus American League. It's fun, but I mean, difference. I mean, I know leagues for a while tried to, like whoever won that made home field advantage for, I think baseball did. I could be wrong. I think they tried something where it was like, if you won the All-Star game for the National League, that team got home field advantage for the World Series.
Maybe. I don't know.
That could be wrong. Because I know today too, I don't know if you saw this, the NBA announced that they are looking at making, because they're sick of players sitting out like LeBron and not playing as much through a season, right? That you can't make these types of like all-star teams or whatever unless you play enough games to max your bonuses.
Okay.
They're changing.
I'm for that.
Me too, because Charles Barkley was coming out saying these players are going to fucking finally get what's coming to them, in the sense that they're asking for more and more money and playing less and less, and fans are buying tickets and going there, and they're not. Yep. They're sitting out. They're doing this. They're setting records because they go out there, they can score 80 points a night and then barely play the rest of the season. Well, it's great.
That's the thing. I mean, we've got our friend Jared down in Las Vegas who we've talked about a little bit on the podcast, but I remember in Kobe's last year, he bought tickets to a Laker game to go see him, and he took his wife, and I think Kobe was his favorite player in basketball regardless of what team, and he bought tickets and Kobe didn't even play that night, and it was so disappointing, which kind of brings me to our next topic. Let's take a real quick break, and then I want to talk with you about some of our favorite athletes.
Have you ever thought about having a beer with Ted Bundy? Or been anally probed at Area 51? Perhaps go to dinner with Jeffrey Dahmer? Taking a car ride with JFK? Or enter a romantic relationship with O.J. Simpson? If so, then crack a cold one. The Pubtime Podcast just might be for you.
Welcome back. So Jake, we before we took a break, we were talking about a lot of things to do with sports just in general, but one of the things that I kind of hinted at is that I wanted to talk with you about some of your favorite athletes. Now, without getting too far in depth into a list between what league and what sport, etc., who would you say is your favorite athlete, and why are they your favorite athlete?
That's one of the hardest questions ever, B-Word, because I understand there's multiple sport, and it's also like favorite athlete at the time, favorite athlete back in the day, like favorite overall of like for football, or like position is another big thing, right?
Yep.
I have a bunch. I don't think I can say a definitive one overall. Like he's the Muhammad Ali for me for everything, right? Like if I went down like a list for MMA, it would be the Iceman, Chuck Liddell, for all time for me. Or George St. Pierre. I love, Dana, the aliens are coming. I love George St. Pierre, right? Boxing, like for who he is, I fucking love Floyd Mayweather. I love that cocky little asshole that I think sports need more of that, right? Like baseball right now, it's Bryce Harper. Love his attitude, love the way he plays. But if it was all time, it'd probably be Greg Maddux. I was a pitcher. I like it. Football. See, that's the one where I really start breaking down positions. Like I can tell you this, Darryl Green was my favorite cornerback of all time. Okay. Peyton Manning's probably my favorite quarterback of all time, just because of his off the field stuff too. I think Tom Brady's the greatest to play it. Receiver, Jerry Rice, just because like whatever he did. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's hard. Horse racing, Seabiscuit.
Let me stop you right here. So when you're talking about favorite athletes, are they your favorite athlete because of what they do on the field, the court, the green, whatever it might be, or are you choosing favorite based on personality or philanthropy or what's your reasoning behind that?
It's a little bit of all. Like Peyton Manning's one of the most enjoyable people to watch in commercials and off the field, and his antics and his humor and all that, right? Like Floyd Mayweather, I love watching him spend his money like an asshole and like yell at people even off like out of it. Conor McGregor, I fucking love just the way he is, dude. Pompous, I fucking call that guy and everything. So it's both. I don't know. Like hockey, the problem is with hockey, I'll probably pick all my players for my team. Like Ed Belfour is my favorite goalie of all time. I think he's fucking one of the best. It was great. I loved watching Jeremy Roenick. I loved Seabrook, who was a defender for the Blackhawks. That one, I think, is the only sport where I'm almost always going to pick somebody from my team because I'm so tightly wound into my team. See, what about you, B-Word?
It's so funny because the way that I ask this question and phrase this question are two entirely different things. Like, we get one answer from you that's all over the place, and then I can give you a definitive answer based on leagues. So in the NFL, my favorite player of all time is Jason Witten. I think that Jason Witten is one hell of a good human. He played for the Cowboys, which also helped. Arguably one of the best tight ends. I think tight ends are getting better now, but for what he was when he was, I think he was arguably top 3 tight ends in the league. But man, what a good human off the field. I just really enjoy that about him. But then, when I go to favorite athletes and I'm thinking about favorite athletes, I'm like, well, Michael Jordan. Like, I fucking love Michael Jordan. I love everything about Michael Jordan when he was playing. Later years, Michael Jordan, I'm he is what he is. I'll take him for what he is. But as a player, like, I truly loved watching him, right? And then so I think I can pick it based on different leagues, based on different sports. But I think if I were to have to narrow it down to one, I'd probably choose Jason Witten.
Okay. Now, can I ask you this though too? Do you feel like with certain leagues, like you say Jordan, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, there's the GOAT argument, but do you feel with certain types of sports or leagues or something, it also depends if you still watch it anymore or if you liked the game back then more? Like, you know what I mean?
100%. 100%. Like, I watch the NBA. Like, I'm loving watching Luka Doncic, to be honest with you. He's a freak, man. Like, I really enjoyed it. I liked watching LeBron, in his younger years. I loved watching Kobe. Shaq is a good human. I fucking love Shaq, man. Shaq's a big man that I don't know that we'll ever see again, like his style of play. And I just don't, he's authentic, dude. So, I mean, I can definitely talk about this sort of stuff, and throw other players that are out there. But just, I think when I became a huge fan of the NBA, I was a huge fan of the Bulls. And the funny part is that I will totally tell you that when it comes to the NBA, I'm probably more bandwagoner than anything else. Like, in my heart, it's always probably going to be the Bulls. But like right now, I'm all about the Mavs because I love watching Luka Doncic. I really like Dame from your neck of the woods for the Trailblazer. I think he's fucking awesome. But I wouldn't say he's my favorite player right now. Like, my favorite player right now is Doncic for sure. I do think that as we talk about sports, like, it is kind of hard to pin it down. But when it comes to the NFL, like, I will tell you who my favorite player is of all time, period. Like, no doubt whatsoever, because I watched basically his entire career. He's only a few years older than I am. So it's not like, there's much difference that I couldn't have watched him, while he was in the NFL. But he's one hell of a good human, talking about Jason Witten. And if I have favorite players right now, I'd have to say Micah Parsons because he's on my team, right? So, I do think I'm a lot more partisan when it comes into the NFL than I am in other leagues.
Well, that's going to bring us to our final segment of the night, and that's the everlasting movie room. We're going to get into sports documentaries because I feel, and a whole other discussion for another day would be which sport does them the best, and I think people would be surprised in my answer on that. But I will say this: like, let's get into the top 5 sports documentaries that you watch. Now, I did want to clarify something here because this is hard in the sense of this. There are so many good TV show ones.
Oh, sure.
Like I think, what is it, A Football Life that the NFL Network does? Those are fucking stellar.
Yeah.
I didn't count any of those.
Yeah.
And as always, I have top 5 in order, 2 honorable mentions. And I'm going to cheat with something because I'm going to get to yours. But one of my honorable mentions, I don't technically think is one film. I think it's a show, but it could be listed as that. And I don't know if it's going to be on your list either. And I'll just ruin it. It's The Last Dance. I think the way The Last Dance was done was so fucking impeccable, but it's funny. If you go look on a film thing, it's 491 minutes. No, right. It's a bunch of fucking episodes.
Right.
How do you feel about that?
I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm going to blow my list. That's my number 1. I love The Last Dance. Like it, and I don't know if it's because that Super Bowl effect, like, you talk about that it's, recent, when COVID hit, this was like the newest content that I could absorb that was so fucking interesting that I was ready just to watch every single week. I sat down with my dad and my kid and we just watched The Last Dance. Like, it was great. So that's the number 1 on my list because I didn't go, okay, it's one sitting. It's just a documentary, right? I do think that there's other things that you can look at, like A Football Life as an example. There's so many of football lives. 30 for 30s. I think you can look at certain 30 for 30s and say, okay, that's its own documentary, right? But when you're talking about like the Untolds on Netflix, I think that those are good too. When it comes to those things, those are one subject, one episode, one sitting, 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever it might be. The Last Dance is all encompassing for me, and it made my number one. So I'm just going to blow that right off the top. But I do have a couple honorable mentions for you, and then I also have mine in order as well.
Okay. Well, it's funny because I didn't put any 30 for 30s, and the reason was they some of those are going to make my list, but I think, and one day I'll just spoil, we are probably going to do a 30 for 30 thing.
Yeah.
Because there's so many of them. There's so much you can talk about, and we do love talking sports on this show. But I put them all in a league of their own. Now, with that said, I do have an Untold on my list because I just started falling into those.
Yeah.
And I treat them a little differently. I think it's a continuation of 30 for 30. I don't understand the fucking intro music. It's fucking garbage.
It's weird.
It's the weirdest thing ever.
Yeah.
But no 30 for 30s made my list, even though some of those films are probably some of the best sports documentaries.
Yeah.
I left them off on purpose.
Okay.
I'll give you my second honorable mention. I'll let you do your two because I already did one of mine was Last Dance. And it was not that it's not amazing. That's not great. I just felt it was going to be more in the TV episode category, so I didn't feel right putting it on as a movie.
Sure.
I will admit this. It's probably higher if I did count it as a movie than some of mine on my top five. So I followed that rule a little too tightly. Like Pete Rose, it's never going to make the Hall of Fame.
Right.
But the second one is Pumping Iron.
Okay. See, that almost made my list. Yeah.
I love bodybuilders. I don't know why B-word. I'm going to tell a little story that's a little too, I don't care if people think it's TMI, but when I was a kid, I love hot chicks that lift weights like Trish Stratus. I used to go look at the muscle mags at Smith's when we were growing up in high school. And when I was going through, the pubescent years, I used to actually rip pages out and put them in my pocket and go home. And I'll freely admit that. I used to go stand in the aisles at Smith's. I'd look around, see if anyone see me, and I'd start ripping all the pages out of the girls I like. And I had a whole folder. I had a giant folder just full of hot, built, fucking strong, uber tanned women. It was fucking stellar.
That's awesome.
I just have a fascination with people that can build their bodies as much. And it's not like I do it. I don't know why. I just find it intriguing. I think it's such a funny lifestyle.
You like the snoo, man. I dig it.
I love snoo.
You've got a whole, you had a whole, I don't know if you still have it, but you had a whole folder of women looking men. So that's awesome, dude. Good for you.
All about that life.
Answers a lot of questions that I had. So we're good there. All right. So my honorable mentions, I told you to watch this one. I don't know if you watched it or not, but recently I came across Woo Becoming Ric Flair on Peacock. I love Ric Flair. I've always loved Ric Flair. I think that I think there's so many WWE documentaries that I can add onto this that are just ridiculous, right? But maybe it's because I just watched it. It's interesting to me. It's new, but that documentary was freaking cool. It's on Peacock. If you haven't watched it, I do suggest that people watch it. But that's my number 2 honorable mention.
See, I'm not a Ric Flair guy. And we've talked about this because of WCW versus WWE. Ric Flair is like a YouTube short thing for me. I love watching clips of him.
Mm-hmm.
I love like his little speech, but I never really got into his wrestling. I never really got into anything else about him. I never really got into WCW, even when it was big because I didn't have cable. We were poor, so I was a WWF kid.
Right.
But I can see it. I'd probably be interested in it. But what's your other one?
My number 1 honorable mention is actually an Untold. It's Operation Flagrant Foul. It's the one where the ref was actually was he not betting the games
it
never really
or whatever,
never really answered it, but that was my number 2 because that was such a good show. Like initially I'm like, oh no, he's totally did it, and then all of a sudden I'm like, no, he really didn't do it, and then all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, he was a part of it, right? So that was my honorable mention there.
Well, that leads into my number 5 because mine's also an Untold, and my favorite Untold is Crimes and Penalties about the Trashers. It's cool too because it ties into The Sopranos that in a way I never knew.
Yeah.
I love hockey. I love the fighting. I mean, when I saw that this guy bought it for his 17-year-old son, and he looked like the epitome of every kid that wanted to be Eminem. And I'll say it, just white that dressed that way and acted. Yep. I fucking hated. But it's great. And the Untolds are awesome. I mean, they're a little hard to rank. I think I could rank the top 3 of those on their own of what I think. But out of them, that was the most enjoyable one for me because I love hockey. There was the one guy in it who he's actually the picture of the cover art for it, Smoking the Scar, who when you hear him talk and everything, like he's almost like those cartoon character people. Like he should be in a movie. Like there's no way that guy's really like that in real life. And you're like, holy fuck. Like he's a mob boss. I mean, it's just crazy. Right. But great fucking flick. What's your number 5?
Magic and Bird, A Courtship of Rivals. That was a great one. I think that first off, I love everything to do with the old school NBA. And when I say old school, I'm talking like 80s and 90s. Like you can get older than that. Like I'll pay attention to that. It's just not my favorite stuff because it's not the stuff that I grew up with, if that makes sense. Yeah. And while Magic and Bird are a little older than I am, like they're in their primes, they were very influential when I first started watching basketball. They were still in the league. There was still competition there. And I just really enjoyed the fact that like they took it so fucking personally that they hated each other. Like they legitimately hated each other, right? And you had one dude who was black in Magic. You had another dude who was white in Bird. Both of them were equally skilled. It was ironic how close in attributes that they were. A bitter rivalry turned into a great friendship. I just really enjoyed the documentary.
That's a good one. My next one would go into my favorite sport, like growing up, and it was baseball, and it's Facing Nolan. This is a recent one. Nolan Ryan was that pitcher that I never really got to see play all that much because it was a little before my time, right? But there was always the legend of the freight train and whatever, right? And it's a good documentary, though, because it's one of those things. It's not just about his. I love documentaries that also talk about their life. And I understand a lot of them do it. Like, let's talk about like how he grew up and stuff. But like just hearing the stories of him and his wife, too, are just fucking stellar. Seeing how the other thing is because when you have a character like Nolan Ryan, where he's just a straight-laced, straightforward punch in the mouth, no pun intended, with everything he does, says, and everything's hard and fast, it's like, it's enjoyable to see that he's the same guy on the field as he is off the field. Yeah. That's another reason, like I said, why I love Mayweather. He is who he is, right? I've said it on the show. I appreciate sluts. When you know who you are, I like it. When you are the same guy everywhere, I like it. There is an enjoyable factor of people when, they change when they get in the cage or whatever, or in the box ring or on the court, like their mentality is a little different. But I just enjoyed it because it was like watching him playing baseball off the baseball field too, if that makes sense. It was a great fucking film.
I've caught pieces of that. I have not watched the whole thing, but I will tell you from what I have watched, it looks really entertaining. So I don't know. That's absolutely something that'd be right down your alley. So I'm glad you actually put that on there. I'll go back and finish it. My number 4 is going to be What's My Name? Muhammad Ali. I think Muhammad Ali is one of the most entertaining people. I'm not talking about just athletes. I think he's one of the most entertaining people to watch. There's a lot of things that I disagree with Muhammad Ali with. There's a lot of things that I agree with Muhammad Ali with. But you cannot say that his mouthpiece, that the way that he handled himself, the way that he performed in the sport was not more influential than other athletes, arguably at any time. He was so dynamic, and he attracted so many different fans to his brand, to boxing, that you hear about, like people like Mike Tyson that acknowledge that they'll never achieve Ali heights, right? But I thought this was a great documentary. I think it was one of HBO's first sporting documentaries on HBO Max, if I remember correctly. Or might have been right before HBO Max, but regardless, it was a great one. It's definitely worth the watch. Muhammad Ali, What's My Name, is absolutely on my list. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is actually it's a sport in the sense of the way the movie's portrayed. It's a sport because it's for a record, but it's Free Solo, and it's watching guys climb the mountain the fastest ever in history with no equipment.
Okay.
Have you watched this movie?
I have not. No.
Watch this fucking movie because it's interesting. It's one of those ones too where it breaks down life, but it's those guys that go climb like giant mountains with no equipment and could die.
Okay.
And just seeing his mindset and how crazy they are. And the reason it's sport because they're setting records in the movie. They're setting like who's the fastest to climb it. And the cool thing is I like when I learn things too.
Okay.
So like, I was like, okay, I'll watch. They're climbing a mountain. Good for them. They climb some rocks and they do it without equipment. It's going to be scary. But then it's like, they have like everything mapped out on the thing. So he's like, oh yeah, if you go this way, this is called like, I'm just going to say like the George Washington path. And then you get to this peak called, Tehachapi's Peak. And then you get this. And the way they set the records, they all have to climb it like almost the same way, essentially.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, who's the fastest to climb it ever, free soloing, going up this path during these time of the months and watching them train, and they have to. And it just opened my eyes to it, like as a sport, because I'm thinking, okay, they do this and good. He climbed it faster than anybody. Like what? Like I'm thinking, who cares about how hard it is to get up there faster? How hard is it? I'm more worried that he's going to die because he's going to fall, right?
Right.
And I was so hooked with this movie. Like it's not number one because it's not like one of my favorite like sports as I'm saying it, but to me it's a sports movie because they're setting records and they're doing that. But it was just, it's insane, dude. It's fucking insane. It's so well done. It's a great flick in the sense of, like I said too, I learned how it could be a sport. Okay. And so that's why it makes my list.
I'll check it out. My number 3 is actually going to be a 30 for 30. It's my only 30 for 30 on the list.
Okay.
And I had a hard time picking between two of them, but they both kind of contain the same subject matter. So the one that I chose is called OJ Made in America.
Okay, yeah.
And
good one.
This one's fantastic. This one talks about how the influence of the Rodney King riots and black culture and everything within that, it had to do with the racism that was portrayed by white culture and how that influenced the jury and everything else. This one was killer, man. This one was a really killer documentary. I remember being in 5th grade. I remember being at the library when the announcement of O.J. Simpson came out, his guilty or his not guilty verdict. And the reason why that was like so much of a thing for me is because this is kind of where court TV came from, right? This was one of those first instances where there was like a lot of court cameras going on, and I remember everybody watching it at that time, and it was so fascinating to me. This one was almost replaced by another one. I just couldn't search for the title, but it was talking about everything on this day that changed. Like there were so many things that changed, and that's an entirely different documentary with OJ. But OJ Made in America is fucking killer, man. I'm pretty sure you've watched it, but if you haven't, make sure to watch it. I think it's a 2-hour documentary. Spend the time on it. It's fucking killer, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is. My next one, I'm going back to Roots of Baseball. My wife picked this movie out years ago for our movie night. Somebody recommended it to her. Never heard of it. And I was like, okay. And it's The Battered Bastards of Baseball.
Oh, yeah, that's with Kurt Russell, right?
Kurt Russell, because his dad owned the team. And I did not know how good of a player Kurt Russell was. And the cool thing was it's actually about a team up here, the Portland Mavericks, which then became the Portland Beavers and stuff. And but that the team 1973 to 1977. Great film because it's one of those things. It's not just about a player, which I think most documentaries fall in that trap. It's not just about a team. It's about the league they're in and the people around them and how things came about and how they made rule changes based on the things they broke and what they did. And I learned about Kurt Russell, and it's a very well done film. It was just shot well. It was something I never heard of, something I never knew. It's in my backyard. It makes my list because of that, but it was just a surprising factor. Like I said, when my wife had to pick a documentary and she came back and says, or it was a sports movie. It wasn't even a documentary. She had to pick a sports movie and she goes, I'm going to pick this because somebody recommended it. And we enjoyed it so fucking much. And I've recommended this film to multiple people, and everybody that's watched it has said, it's a great fucking flick.
Yeah, it's excellent
flick.
It's excellent.
That's why it's one of those, I just really love the film.
I thought it was really good too. I mean, I'm actually disappointed that didn't even make an honorable mention. So thanks for bringing that up, asshole. I'm going to have you go with your number 2 because I've already spoiled what my number 1 is. So I'm going to have you finish on your number 1. What is your number 2?
Well, that was my number 2 was The Battered Bastard Baseball. So I'm on number 1 now.
Oh, well then give me your number 1.
Yeah, my number my number 1 is a film that was recommended to me, and I know everybody was talking about it when it came out and everything, but my old boss, like one time, was like, "You watched this?" I was like, "No, I know it won an Emmy, not an Emmy, an Oscar or something." And it was Icarus, and Icarus is a great fun. Again, it makes my list so high just because it's such a well done film, but it's almost 2 films in one where it surprises you halfway through.
What is it about?
It's about doping. And so it's about a bike rider, and they're trying to figure out doping, and it turns into this whole fucking mystery of this guy. Like, the mob gets involved with Russia and the KGB, and like now you're not just watching them like try to figure out, you know, can you get caught doping and how doping works and all that. Now you're watching this doctor like being chased by the mob, and you think he's gonna die, and you're like, what the fuck is that? It's like so many films in one, and it's so well done. And it won awards. And I remember when it came out, everybody's talking about it. I'm like, oh, whatever. I've heard of Icarus flying in the sun and whatever. It's about fucking bicyclists, right? And the last bicyclist I cared about has one fucking nut and fucking like was a doper, and they all are. And I didn't want to watch the movie, and my boss says, Jake, watch it. And then I watched it, and I was like, wow, like this movie is so fucking in depth. And like I said, because it's not just like, I'll tell you, be ready when you turn it on, you're gonna start watching this movie going, okay, cool, doping, a guy on a bike, whatever. Let's see what happens. And then the way the story goes, and I'm not trying to split it, but you're like, what the fuck is happening? And it's not done in that way where you're like, oh, of course they added this twist to keep me invested. It's like, no, the twist just fucking happens. And you're like, why?
Man. Interesting. So, yeah, I'll have to check that out. You've actually talked that one and then the free solo that I have not watched. So I'll go back and look at those. So I've already said my number one was The Last Dance. My number two, and we've talked about this before. I don't know if we've talked about you watching this particular film, but we've talked about this. It's called Trophy Kids. It was actually came out in 2013. Have you ever seen this?
I have not. You've told me to watch it, and it's one of those ones that's always on my list, and then it just gets pushed to the back.
So it does a great job where it's not really talking about one athlete in particular, because that's not what they're highlighting. They're talking about these helicopter parents. Like, at what point are these parents too involved? At what point do these kids get rewarded? Are we really doing what's best for the kids? Do we just want them to be the best? I mean, it talks about a lot of questions that when it comes into, as we were talking about in a previous segment on this show, how parents influence their children in sports. And what they to what extent, to what lengths do they go to try to make them successful? It's a fucking phenomenal documentary, dude. It came out, I want to say, in like 2012 or 2013. It's solid. It's definitely my number two, followed by The Last Dance at number one. But that finishes up my documentary list. Ultimately, man, good show, great fucking list. Good discussion on a lot of controversial. I wouldn't really call them controversial topics, but thought-provoking topics, dialogue-provoking topics. I think this is a good episode.
The best part is it's one of those episodes where I think if we polled, because you love them, any of our fans, you would have to put a yes, no, or a both, or maybe, right? And I think majority of the people would be in the same boat as us, where there's not a definitive answer.
I think so.
And that's what I enjoy. That's what makes it a thought-provoking talk. Great list. I'm glad I can bring up some films that you haven't seen yet. I know there are some on yours that I haven't seen yet that we can watch. I hope our fans do. Let us know what you listen to. Or, let us know what you've watched. And what you thought. There's some good fucking flicks out there, and I always want to see new ones too. So we do love when our fans let us know what we should also be checking out, and I'd be interested to see if there's some good ones out there. Maybe there's one about fucking fishing I haven't seen. I don't know.
Well, since our last episode, we got a new patron. So, Mama, thanks.
Thanks, Mama.
Thanks for supporting our show. Jake's mom went ahead and struck the salty hippo tier, so we appreciate that. But with that, we do offer 2 additional shows per month. We talked already about our Hippo Happy Hour. The other one is the Stain Remover. The Stain Remover is very much a parody of a radio show. It is unique. It is something entirely different than what we do on our regular episodes. We do encourage you to listen. If you're interested, check out our link tree, linktr.ee/Bleach Bros Podcast. But more importantly, man, I want to thank you, and I also want to shout out Josh from Apple Boys. Our website's coming along great. Can you kind of talk about some of the things that are on there?
Yeah. So anything that you want to find from every episode, you can. All the show notes, just like you do when you're following, but you can click everything into it. There's our Friends of the Show page, which is friends that we've worked with that we've gotten to know in this community and shows that we would recommend. And my favorite part, I'm sure it will be a lot of our Salty Hippos' favorite part. There's the sticker map, where if you have ever placed a sticker for us for the overt advertising, adhesive graffiti movement, the Salty Hippo Nation has grown. You can see it anywhere in the world that sticker has been. It'll give you directions to where that sticker has been. It'll give you reviews if it's in a place that has been eaten at or drank at or pissed in. I don't know, but a cool fucking thing. The Hateful Gnome episodes are on there. There's a lot on there. You can subscribe. It will update you to your email if you're into that every time something drops, if you don't already know. And links to our Patreon. But it is looking beautiful. I do really want to commend Josh, who's put a lot of hard work from the Apple Boys in it with me. But yeah, give us that. And if you want some stickers, let us know. We'll send them your way. You can be part of that map.
Absolutely. So that's bleachbros.com, bleachbros.com. Make sure to check it out. Make sure to check out our Patreon. Memberships start at just $3 a month, and you can go up from those tiers there. And with that, Jake, what do you got for me?
Thanks for all the dirty talk, and come back and get sanitized.